Okay, in this demonstration, I want to show you how you can use WinSCP on the school's computers to connect to our MAT server for uploading files. Now, this isn't technically a school computer that I'm using, but it's going to be very similar as long as, right now, I think the school's computers are still running on Windows 7, so if they update to Windows 10, then it's not going to be that much different, really. So what you'll do is you'll go down to the Start menu, no matter what, whether you're in 7 or 10 or 8 or whatever. So, and then you're going to find WinSCP. It's going to look a little different if you go, like if you're on the school's computer, if you go to All Programs, you'll have to find, it'll probably be like way down at the bottom in a folder called WinSCP, but you're looking for WinSCP, basically. And you can always do a little search in the search bar as well. And you're going to have something that pops up that looks a lot like this when you connect. And the reason I'm showing is, by the way, even though at your house, I prefer that you use something like CyberDuck because it's so easy to use. But when you're on the school's computer and you need to use FTP, Windows, this is what they have, and on the Macs, they have something called Fetch. And there's a separate tutorial to show you how to use Fetch on the school's computers. Anyway, but what you'll do is you want to make sure that this is set to SFTP for the file protocol. The host name is going to be mat.miracosta.edu. Port number it has to be 22, otherwise it will not work. The username is going to be your W number, so for instance W1234567 or something like that, whatever your W number happens to be. Mine isn't a W number, so I'm going to put something in that looks a little different. But your W number is your username, and it's the same thing that you use to log into Surf. That also means that your password is the same as your Surf password, same as Blackboard and whatever the learning management system is that we're using at the time. Okay, and then, so let me put my password in here. And, oops, I think I typed it wrong. Let's try that one more time. There we go. And then, even if you click Save, it isn't going to save it on that computer. It might do it for a temporary session, but as soon as that computer logs out or reboots, you're going to have to do this all over again anyway. So I'm just going to click on Login. I'm not going to bother with saving it. And then it's going to ask you if you want to add a host key to the cache. You are going to say yes to trust it. Okay, and then you're going to see something that looks like this. On the left side is your directory, it's your computer, and on the right side is the actual server. So let's use, for instance, a class called Mat 120, for instance. You could look under 125 or whatever, but we'll use Mat 120 for the example. So you would find the name of your folder and the name of the instructor. Mine is, in this example, is going to be mat120_Kotner. Okay, so what you would do on the right side where the remote server is you would double click that to go into it. And then next you would go over here and find a folder called Student Work, and you're going to double click it to go into it. And when you do that, you're going to see a long list of student names. And so I'm going to scroll down. I created a sort of a fake dummy student folder called X_last name_first name. And that's the format that you're going to see is something that's called last name_first name. Of course, it would be your own last name and your own first name that you'd be looking for. So let's take a look inside of that. Okay, I'm going to double click and go inside of it. And you see that it's empty. All right, well, there's some different ways that you can deal with this. One is if you wanted to just use drag and drop, which is really what I would suggest that you do, because it's so much easier. You could make a folder on your desktop or wherever you keep your stuff. For example, I'm going to create a folder. Let's do new folder on my desktop, and I'm going to call it Project 1, all right, for instance. And let's just say, okay, for example, if this is the Mat 120 class, right? So you would go inside of that Project 1 folder that you just created on your desktop, and you could create other folders. Like, so if this is going to be for a video project, which it is, then you would right click and you would go in there and create a new folder. Let's create one for audio files. We'll just call it audio. We'll create another one that is for images. Okay, and then we'll create another one that is for video. All right, and then lastly, one of the things that I like to do is I like to have a folder that is in there called working or working files or something. But basically it's for working files that you're using that are like native PSD files, Photoshop documents, or Premiere Pro files, things that are going to be manipulated inside of programs so that you can render out your final project later. So anyway, let's just create that structure. And then if I want to transfer this entire project one folder up, I've already got a structure inside of it. So I'll just take it and I'll drag it over to the right side. And it's going to tell me that this is where it's going to put it. And so go ahead and say OK. And it transferred everything up there. And so if you wanted to really quickly look right here, you could see that all of the stuff is up on the server that we put in there. And of course, these are empty folders. You could have other folders in there, but they're empty right now. So if you want to also look at this little dot dot, that means go up a directory. If I click on that, it takes me back up to my parent directory of project one. If I go up again, it's going to take me up to the list of all the student names and so on. All right, and if you wanted to see, for instance, where this is on the web, right now this program, all it does is transfer files from point A to point B. So WinSCP, Fetch does the same thing, CyberDuck does the same thing. All of those programs are FTP programs or SFTP programs. And what that means is that they transfer files across the network, and that's all they do. You can't like view files. You know, it's not the same thing. You could go into a web browser after you put the stuff up on the web. You could go to a browser and you could do something where you look to see where those files are located. So let me show you how you could do that. Because later in the semester, you know, we might put some video files or audio files or something up there that you'd want to take a peek at. Anyway, so if you go to MAT in a browser like Google Chrome or Safari or Firefox, Microsoft Edge, one of those. So go to mat.miracosta.edu/, and then you're going to go to type mat120, because that was the folder that we were inside of, mat120_Cotner, like that, and then you can just hit return. And by the way, Cotner is COTNOIR. So I'll hit return, and then you can see, remember this, it gives us a directory listing, and I can, let me just blow that up real quick, make that bigger so you can see it better. And it gives me a directory listing, and if I go inside of it, where it says student work, right, I can see, you know, all of those student names, and then I can go into where it says X last name, first name, that's my example. And I can see that I put something up there for project one, audio, images, right? There's nothing in each one of these, right? But I could look at each one. And so you can imagine if you uploaded a video in your, you know, your video folder, you could like actually watch the video or look at it or whatever. Anyway, that's a web browser. It's for you to just kind of look at the files. Let's close that out. Now, when you're finished with your SFTP exchange, you can close it out. And you might be wondering, okay, well, what do I do with this stuff on the left? You don't technically have to do anything unless you really want to use it like as a file explorer. So you can see right now it's in my documents. If I were to click that, I could jump to my desktop. And I could have very easily taken project one and dragged it over to put it on the server on the right. So just, you know, if that's confusing to you, just be aware that everything that's on the left is on your computer, everything that is on the right is on the server. So you got to make sure you don't drag and drop the wrong direction and like overwrite your new files with your old files, for instance. Okay. Anyway, when you're finished with this, the easiest way on the school's computers to just get out of it is to go up here and close the connection. It'll ask you, are you sure you want to terminate? You say, yep. And you're done. And if you really want to be certain, you can log out of that computer. And that's the end of the tutorial.